Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH the Flame Emperor episode number 73 based on novel. So let's start. This isolated island is really strange. Actually, it can permeate this huge Shenling Emperor pond. Xiao Yan was talking to himself as he walked. As for his master, the Golden Dragon King, he turned into a soul force and stood on his shoulders. The two walked for a few minutes, and they also found that their vision had become wider. What do you think that is? The Golden Dragon King also seemed to have discovered something, pointing to a place not far in front of him. That is Wooden Dragon Beard. Hui Yutong. Xiao Yang's mouth also blurted out the familiar names. As a high-level pharmacist, the names of these precious medicinal materials have long been memorized in his heart, so Xiao Yang also said when he first saw those plants with different colors not far away. It is rich in so many precious medicinal materials, this is a rare treasure. The Golden Dragon King also laughed slowly. The next moment, the Golden Dragon King's dragon pupil also slowly swept around, and after finding nothing, Xiao Yang also let Xiao Yang pass. After entering from the stone tablet in the forbidden area, he also followed the road that spreads like a snake. In the forbidden area, the smoke is surrounded, and the line of sight is greatly reduced. However, as Xiao Yang got closer, he also found that the distance of several hundred meters from the path had disappeared without a trace, and there was only a large meadow. On the grass, there is a medicinal material-rich area with an area of only a few meters. Get rich, get rich. Xiao Yang was also muttering in his mouth, and then his hands were not idle. He took out precious utensils such as jade bottles and shovels, and then squatted down slowly, carefully identifying the person in front of him. A land of rich medicinal herbs. It seems a little weird here. The Golden Dragon King also kept looking around and said slowly. Even with the power of the Golden Dragon King at the half-immortal level, he could not perceive any difference in this isolated island, but the only certainty was that this isolated island was where the meteorite was located. The reason why the Shenling Emperor Pond has such a strange power is largely due to the power of this meteorite. Take it and go quickly. It is not advisable to stay here for a long time. The Golden Dragon King also said slowly. Xiao Yang also knew that this place was not a place to stay for a long time, so he immediately squatted down, then held the jade shovel in his hand, and gently walked towards the precious medicinal herbs in the medicinal herb field. With a slight movement of the jade shovel in his hand, he went towards the root of a precious medicinal herb. These medicinal herbs are hard to come by in the outside world, so stay a line, leave a trace of the root of this medicinal herb, so that it has the ability to breed another precious medicinal herb. With a slight movement of the jade shovel in his hand, he also headed towards the root of a precious medicinal herb. The next moment, the medicinal herb also fell off. Then Xiao Yang was also quick-witted, and immediately took the excellent jade bottle and was about to put it up. At the next moment, Xiao Yang's pupils shrank tightly, and then he suddenly noticed the change. Bang bang bang! The crisp voice echoed on this isolated island like broken glass. The broken place was the moment Xiao Yang used the jade shovel to remove the medicinal material. Xiao Yang is also quite helpless about this. For these precious medicinal materials, they can only be removed by using a good jade ware, but to take down the medicinal material and put it in a good jade bottle, otherwise it will have a great effect on the medicinal power of the medicinal material. Big impact. But Xiao Yang also didn't expect that he had just carefully removed the medicinal material, but for some reason, the instant the medicinal material just fell off, it turned into a powder. This is something Xiao Yang has never heard of before. What a pity. Xiao Yang also shook his head, and without hesitation, he moved towards another medicinal herb without hesitation. The jade shovel in his hand moved slightly, and in the next moment, the medicinal material also fell off. Bang bang bang! The same voice echoed in this space again, and then the medicinal material was also turned into powder, without even a trace of power. At this moment, Xiao Yang also realized that something was wrong. He stopped immediately, and then slowly looked at the medicine field with an area of several meters in front of him. The first time may be occasional, the second time is impossible. Xiao Yang shook his head, and the next moment, there was a trace of hesitation in his eyes. This place should also be very close to the core of the island, so be careful. After thinking about it, the Golden Dragon King didn't find the problem, and immediately said solemnly, "Damn." Xiao Yang snorted coldly, and then put away his fine jade items. Since the medicine in front of you can't be taken away. Before the combination, it was also discovered that any kind of plants on this isolated island are without a trace of power, and what supports their growth. The energy in the sea water of the Flame Emperor Pond is so strong. This isolated island has absorbed a lot of power. How come the plants on it don't have any power? Where do these powers go? These secrets are obviously the secrets on this isolated island. Even Yuxuan knows very little about this forbidden island. What is that? The next moment, Xiao Yang also raised his head suddenly, and then stared at the two light spots in front of him. Those two spots of light were actually transformed from the two medicinal herbs that I just picked. Xiao Yang was also puzzled at first. He didn't notice that the two herbs turned into powder after they were separated from the ground, and the next moment there was a faint light spot left. Now that he came back to his senses, he also found this light spot. This light spot doesn't have any power, but I can feel a faint suction coming out. That feeling, it seems that something in the deepest place is calling it. Xiao Yang also muttered to himself. Let's go. The Golden Dragon King also discovered this light spot immediately. The breath was slightly diffused, and then he slowly walked towards the empty land path. Xiao Yang didn't hesitate either. The huge milky white flames slowly surrounded his body, and then the ancient ruler of eternal fire was also slightly held in his hand. If something is wrong, it will take action. This is how Xiao Yang and the Golden Dragon King slowly walked towards the core area of the forbidden area. It's just that with the departure of the two, the original extremely empty field of medicinal herbs slowly disappeared, and even the road and every grass and tree by the road disappeared without a trace. Damn it! Xiaoshu also snorted coldly, and then he couldn't control Da Fatty next to him. As soon as his breath emerged, Zaidu attacked the silver dragon. The terrifying silver dragon's roar also filled this space. In addition to the Flame Emperor Pond, the two Xiaoshu brothers and sisters were also devastated by the silver dragon, which was comparable to the level of the 7-star Dodi of human beings. Brother, this silver dragon is probably not something my two can deal with. Da Fatty also had scars of varying degrees all over his body, and then said to Xiaoshu, if we can't do it, we have to do it, otherwise we will have only one end. Xiaoshu also said it with difficulty. The next moment, he didn't hesitate, and attacked in Dudu. At the peak of the 9-fish play dragon formation, a void also slowly and eerily wriggled, and then an extremely sinister voice said slowly, it's really two wastes, damn it. This beast actually becomes more and more brave the more he fights. But this space is extremely weird. I can't use my Do Emperor body, and my Do Chi can't be recovered. Xiaoshu was also panting violently, and then said, Xiaoshu's two brothers and sisters have also spent a lot of time fighting with the silver dragon. If the strength of the two of them is not good, I am afraid they will be beaten to death by the silver dragon. Damn it, it seems that the silver dragon is ready to go all out. Xiaoshu also noticed that the breakthrough of the silver dragon in front of him had stopped, and then the next moment, the strength of a 7-star fighting emperor level also slowly radiated. This fluctuation seems to be a powerful attack. I can't resist. Run separately. Xiaoshu also snorted coldly, and then pushed his sister Da Fatty away impressively. Boom boom boom. The huge silver faucet also slowly impacted away, mixed with the power of destroying the sky and destroying the earth. For the sake of your usefulness. The next moment, the space of the 9-fish playing dragon formation also slowly wriggled. In a breath, a black cloak walked out of the wriggling space. A mysterious figure wearing a black hat. With the appearance of this figure with a jet black cloak, the entire space trembled slightly. Go. After the jet black figure appeared, he also raised the cracked palm hidden in the black cloak, and slowly swung it towards the silver dragon that was mixed with the aura of annihilation. After encountering the power of the pitch black figure, the silver dragon's silver fighting chi force retreated like a small fire encountering a huge flood. Death. The next moment, the dark figure did not withdraw his hand, and he increased the fighting chi in his palm, and the dark fighting chi slowly entangled towards the silver dragon. In the pitch-black fighting chi, there was a faint flame burning outside the fighting chi. Yinlong's voice was full of anger. The two people in front of them just controlled it. As members of the dragon family, their arrogant nature will not let them forget this shame. This shame must be quelled by killing the two people in front of him. The silver dragon became angry, and then the 1-patterned goldfish, the 2-patterned goldfish and the 9-patterned goldfish also slowly exuded a larger golden brilliance, and then the strands poured into the silver dragon's body. It's stubborn. The dark figure also snorted coldly, and then squeezed his palm tightly, and the jet-black Do Chi flames surrounding the silver dragon burst out instantly. Boom boom boom. The terrifying fluctuations also permeated this space. A few breaths passed, the center of the explosion was also in a mess, and then the silver dragon lost its luster and returned to the tray. At this time, Yinlong's pupils also disappeared, and the goldfish with 1 pattern to 9 patterned goldfish slowly surrounded him. You run fast. The dark figure also snorted coldly, and then stopped looking at the silver dragon. My lord. Xiaoshu knew something vaguely when he first saw the dark figure, so this lord gave the silver dragon, which is comparable to the perfection level of the 7-star Dodi of human beings. After defeating him, he knelt down instantly. Get up. I can't blame you for that. The pitch-black figure also slowly swept over the silver dragon tray and said, Sir, the 3 people from Burning Incense Pavilion have already entered the Flame Emperor Pond. Xiaoshu also said slightly, Humph. A guy who has more than enough success. After the pitch-black figure finished speaking, he kicked Xiaoshu out a few meters away. Brother. Upon seeing this, Fatty Da glanced at the jet-black figure extremely angrily, then quickly ran over to help Xiaoshu up. Sir. Xiaoshu also knew that the life and death of the 2 of them were entirely in this person's hands, so he swallowed his anger and did not attack. Go away. After the dark figure finished speaking, he didn't take it seriously, and then waved it casually, and a space appeared next to the 9 fishes playing dragon formation. Thank you, sir. Seeing this, Xiaoshu also felt relieved, and then pulled himself to death and rushed straight into the space passage. Haha, Solomon's 7th sect master, one day I, Xiaoshu, will make you kneel at my feet. When Xiaoshu left, he secretly swore in his heart. King Xianling is really confused. It's too much of a fuss to ask me to come for such a small group of 3 people. After the dark figure finished speaking, he slowly sat down with his legs crossed. But it doesn't matter. This time, the 3 most outstanding disciples have been damaged. Let's see how you will fight against the Xianling royal family this time. Since you can't get in, stay here and wait. The day you come out will be the time of your death. After the dark figure finished speaking, the entire space returned to calm. It seems to be weird here. Xiao Yang's voice also slowly appeared in the forbidden area. At this time, Xiao Yang and his master Jinlong King have almost entered the core area of the forbidden area. The 2 of them did not encounter any strange things along the way, but what made Xiao Yang questioned was that the further back the forbidden area was, the stronger the power seemed, as if there was an invisible force suppressing Xiao Yang. The heart is shaking violently. Xiao Yang looked around, and there were several extremely small water currents slowly flowing out from it, as if they were only as thick as an arm. Xiao Yang counted it carefully, and there were 7 numbers. Although I don't know the function of these 7 small water currents, I think they are of great use. Things that can flow out of this core area are definitely not ordinary things. Xiao Yang also muttered, and the next moment Xiao Yang also looked around, and then slowly squatted down, extend an index finger and slowly probe towards one of the rivers. Just after Xiao Yang's fingers touched the colorless and transparent river water, an indescribable feeling of comfort filled his body. It's so comfortable. Xiao Yang couldn't help but speak. That kind of feeling, it seems that the whole body has been baptized, without the participation of any impurities, the purest baptism. Haha, it looks like we've come right. The Golden Dragon King also smiled slowly. Yes. Xiao Yang also responded. Obviously, Yu Xian had said before that in this forbidden area, the location of the meteorite is in the core area of the forbidden area. However, this forbidden area has many changes, and few ordinary people can enter it. The only way to tell whether it is close to the core area is the purity of the river water. The purer the river water is, which means that you are getting closer and closer to the core area. Where is the core area? Xiao Yang was also staring at a space not far away, although the smoke was shrouded in smoke and he couldn't see the distance. But Xiao Yang could vaguely guess where it is the place where the 7 rivers flow, and it should be the real treasure. At the same time, in Xiao Yang's acceptance of the ring, something was exuding an extremely hot wave, as if there was something that attracted it from the forbidden area. Xiao Yang also vigilantly probed the surroundings, and then slowly walked towards the depths of the forbidden area. Every time Xiao Yang took a step, he could find that the space around him was opening up, and the smoke that blocked his vision was slowly dissipating. It's just that a faint wave of terror spreads from all directions. The more he walked towards the core area, Xiao Yang also found that the mysterious force suppressed him very uncomfortable, as if his soul trembled and his footsteps slowed down. No, with such a terrifying pressure, there might be something mysterious inside. Xiao Yang also muttered. Just when Xiao Yang hesitated, a golden streak of power instantly covered Xiao Yang's body. Xiao Yang took a closer look and saw that it was the power of his master, the Golden Dragon King. Let's go, this is just a little trick. The Golden Dragon King said without caring at all. Xiao Yang heard that, since the matter was resolved, He had no choice but to shake his head and continue the walk. After all, the Golden Dragon King of his master would say so, and it is also at its height. After all, a figure at the peak of fighting immortals can't see these things. Even if the Golden Dragon King of his master is only a soul body, he is proud of himself. It was also not at all worried about what was going on in this forbidden area. Xiao Yang also didn't have time to think, so he hurriedly followed. It is strange to say that since the golden power of his master, the Golden Dragon King, poured into Xiao Yang's body, the peculiar suppression disappeared without a trace. The arrangement of these 7 rivers seems a bit complicated. Xiao Yang walked, his eyes never leaving the 7 river passages, and then he said slowly, "This. Could it be the arrangement of the Big Dipper?" The Golden Dragon King's doubtful voice also slowly echoed in Xiao Yang's ears. The Big Dipper. Xiao Yang pondered a little, because even if his master, the Golden Dragon King, didn't say anything, Xiao Yang could find that the 7 rivers were really messy at first, but as they went deeper and deeper into the core area, Xiao Yang could also find that the river channels flowing out of these 7 rivers seemed to slowly converge into a very strange thing. With his keen perception, Xiao Yang also felt a wave of destruction. I never imagined that there would be an array of the Big Dipper here. The Golden Dragon King's voice also said slowly, "The Big Dipper." Xiao Yang also muttered to himself, and then walked slowly without waiting for his master, the Golden Dragon King, to speak. "Hey, there's no way." Xiao Yang only walked a few steps, but also found that there was no way ahead, and some things just appeared out of thin air. Xiao Yang was also extremely depressed. He just saw that there is a way here. Why is there no way to come here at this time? Oh, it's normal. Look at what's under your feet. The Golden Dragon King was not surprised at all, and then said slowly, "At your feet." Xiao Yang suddenly lowered his head upon hearing this. The next moment, Xiao Yang's dark brown pupils also showed a hint of doubt. Because at this time, several extremely conspicuous columns appeared under Xiao Yang's feet. 1, 2, 7. What the is this? Xiao Yang suddenly opened his eyes and said, "Don't worry, this is just a very simple means of defense." The Big Dipper, even in ancient times, appeared very limited in number. But every time the Big Dipper appears, it means that there are treasures here. But if you want to crack the Big Dipper and enter the place behind you, if there is no outstanding talent or someone who knows how to crack the Big Dipper, then there is only one consequence. The Big Dipper's repulsion was rashly triggered, thereby activating the guardian power of the Big Dipper. This Big Dipper contains the power of stars, so even a powerhouse at the level of an 8-star Dodi can't afford to walk around in this Big Dipper. The Golden Dragon King also narrowed his eyes and slowly stared at the lined up in the 7 pillars of light on the earth. The 7 beams of light are arranged like the Big Dipper, but the strange thing is that there are no roads here, and there is a slightly weaker water flowing under the 7 beams of light. The water flowed out slowly, and it had the scale Xiao Yang had seen before. You must know that the passage that Xiao Yang saw at the entrance of the stone tablet in the forbidden area was the size of an arm, and under the 7 beams of light in front of him, the water flow was so weak that the naked eye could not detect it, but thanks to Xiao Yang's huge soul power, so it did not escape Xiao Yang's eyes. The river outside is the size of an arm. Compared with the one in front of it, it is obviously not on the same level. The river water outside is more like it has been diluted, and the river water that is only the size of a needle under the 7 beams of light in front of Xiao Yang also contains extremely pure power. Moreover, Xiao Yang knew that if he could be called a treasure by his master Jinlong King, who had always been a master, then the things in the core area of the forbidden area probably had enough weight. The arrangement of the Big Dipper, even my understanding of it is only limited to books. But the Golden Dragon King also squatted down and looked at the 7 beams of light before slowly opening his mouth. But it seems that this thing is not difficult. The Golden Dragon King also laughed. The next moment, the Golden Dragon King's voice had just finished speaking, and his palm was also facing one of the 7 beams of light. Boom, boom, boom. The Golden Dragon King picked up one of the 7 beams of light and moved it to another place. Boom, boom, boom. When the Golden Dragon King just moved the beam of light away, in front of Xiao Yang, an abyss-like passage was suddenly torn apart. Snort. Xiao Yang also swallowed a mouthful of saliva with difficulty, and then stared at his master, the Golden Dragon King, and there was clearly a very worried look in his eyes. Don't worry, the arrangement of the Big Dipper, although I have only seen it in books, but I also saw Tuosha cast it back then, so I have long kept this arrangement in my heart. The Golden Dragon King also laughed. Up to now, Xiao Yang can only pin his last hope on his master, the Golden Dragon King. He also muttered to himself, "Master, I hope you don't trick me. Shabu shabu." Another beam of light moved, and the next moment, the space in front of him also heated up violently. Obviously this time it was a flame. Immediately after, a beam of light was moved, and in the next breath, the space was filled with a tempting smell. If you were unsteady, you might be lost by this smell. A few minutes have passed, and the Golden Dragon King also seems to have finished ranking the 9th position of the Big Dipper. The next moment, the Golden Dragon King also slowly pumped up the golden vindictive energy all over his body, and then shouted loudly, "If you don't open it at this time, when will you wait?" With the cold snort of his master, the Golden Dragon King, the 7 beams of light on the ground also emitted extremely dazzling rays of light. The dazzling light continued to rise, and the next moment it covered the place where Xiao Yang and the others were, and then the 7 beams of light slowly move. The next moment, it also spun abruptly, and then slowly came to a colorless and transparent wall in front of the Golden Dragon King, violently strung in. Originally, Xiao Yang didn't notice that there was only a colorless and transparent thing behind his master, the Golden Dragon King. Only now did he know that it was a colorless wall. Bang bang bang! With the injection of 7 beams of light into the colorless and transparent wall, the colorless and transparent wall blocking the road seemed to have the sound of opening the door, and then slowly opened. The 7 beams of light suddenly turned into meteors, and then disappeared without a trace, but Xiao Yang didn't bother to check where the 7 beams were, because with the opening of the colorless and transparent wall, some things also surfaced. Bang bang bang! Under the injection of 7 beams of light, the colorless and transparent wall slowly spread out toward the 2 sides, revealing its original appearance. That's... The next moment, Xiao Yang also widened his eyes fiercely, staring at the scenery behind the colorless and transparent wall. Through the colorless and transparent wall, what catches the eye is the extremely flat land. The land area is about several hundred meters. Some quite delicate granites on the ground also pave the way for the distance of several hundred meters. It is extremely beautiful, and there is a very conspicuous building above the center of the land that attracts Xiao Yang. It was a mysterious object hanging in mid-air. The object was round and about the size of a jong. The most peculiar thing is that above the circular object, there is a mysterious stone only the size of a palm. The stone slowly turned, exuding a very special brilliance, and the brilliance continued to spread around. That's... When Xiao saw the mysterious stone for the first time, his pupils shrank tightly, and his heartbeat even became intense. The mysterious stone in front of me, if I expected it well, it should be the meteorite that Senior Yu Shen said. Xiao Yang also murmured. Xiao Yang remembers me clearly. This mysterious meteorite created the strength of their Qianmuyu clan and the power of the current Shenling royal family. However, Xiao Yang did not enter any place rashly, because Xiao Yang also felt in the dark, a faint terrifying wave on the mysterious stone also slowly radiated, and seemed to surround a distance of 10 meters. If you enter rashly, I am afraid that you will not be able to eat and walk away. 5. However, Xiao Yang at this time was just 10 meters away. This thing, even me, can't see any flaws. At the moment when the colorless transparent wall was broken, the Golden Dragon King suddenly stepped back a few steps and came to Xiao Yang's side, and then the Golden Dragon King radiated gold. The Long Tong also slowly glanced away at the space in front of him. Remember that Senior Yu Shen said that even he doesn't know the origin of this mysterious meteorite, but the only thing that is certain is that this mysterious meteorite has a long history. Xiao Yang also said, "This mysterious stone seems to contain some mysterious impurities. If these things are used for tempering, they are also very useful." Xiao Yang also discovered after some exploration that Yu Shen is right. This mysterious meteorite does contain some extremely mysterious power, and the formation of the Shenling Emperor Pond is probably also related to this meteorite. The Golden Dragon King also said. But having said that, the fluctuations in the outside world are undoubtedly weakened and diluted too much. Xiao Yang also saw the mysterious meteorite among the 5 round objects at a glance, and then said, "Shabu Shabu." At the next moment, Xiao Yang was just about to say something, but the Emperor Yang ring in his hand suddenly shone brightly, and then a fiery red sword appeared in an instant, and then stayed by Xiao Yang's side, slowly staring at the mysterious meteorite. An extremely greedy fluctuation also emanated from the fairy sword. This fiery red sword was obtained in the mysterious secret realm in the corpse forest before. Although it is an immortal sword, it is damaged after all, so the immortal sword has never been used. First, Xiao Yang used a ruler. I got used to it, and it was because of this immortal sword wealth that Xiao Yang still understood. Xiao Yang also felt that there seemed to be something missing from the immortal sword, and he also never took it out after the infernal corpse forest. I didn't expect this fairy sword to appear at this time. Xiao Yang also murmured. Obviously, when entering this forbidden area before, there was an extremely violent fluctuation in the ring, and now I think it should be this fairy sword. This is an immortal sword, even if it is incomplete, its value is huge. This is a strategic thing that can decide the outcome of a battle. Just imagine, among the powerhouses of the same level, the strength of their own fighting skills and weapons is compared to that of their own. If they possess an immortal sword at the same level, then I am afraid that colorless is invincible. This immortal sword has such violent fluctuations. Xiao Yang also slowly looked away from the mysterious meteorite, and then slowly stared at the immortal sword in front of him. Although Xiao Yang doesn't know the real power of the fairy sword, the fact that this fairy sword has dispatched 3 strong immortal warriors can see the horror of this fairy sword, but although it is only a semi-finished product, but even Long Yi is quite afraid. Long Yi, what is the origin of this immortal sword? Xiao Yang also gently touched the ancient ruler of eternal fire in his hand, and then asked. Do not ask me. When this fairy sword was forged back then, it was indeed shocking, but it hasn't been tempered yet. Or maybe it's not consecrated yet, Long Yi said in a displeased manner. But it's no wonder that when Long Yi was besieged by this immortal sword for thousands of years, if this immortal sword was so simple, it wouldn't be enough to let the 3 big fighting immortals go with him. But looking at the appearance, this fairy sword is obviously thinking about the mysterious meteorite. Maybe he wanted to use that mysterious meteorite to complete its final step. Long Yi said slowly the next moment. It is said that real immortal swords are wise. Why did I not feel any breath and power in this immortal sword? Xiao Yang also spoke slowly. Xianjian also kept making some extremely faint sounds, and then slowly passed into Xiao Yang's mind. It actually wants to devour this mysterious meteorite. The next moment, Xiao Yang's pupils also suddenly opened, and he stared at the immortal sword in front of him, which was surrounded by fiery red aura. After a short period of surprise, Xiao Yang also recovered his calmness, and then slowly stared at this fairy sword. The immortal sword at this time was glowing with fiery red light, and a mysterious dragon-shaped sword shadow slowly emerged on the body of the immortal sword, like a lifelike dragon shadow. From the entrance of the stone tablet in the forbidden area, the immortal sword slowly exudes extremely hot fluctuations, and when it comes to the core area of the forbidden area, the fluctuations are getting stronger and stronger. Instead, Xiao Yang always felt that there seemed to be something on this isolated island that had a fatal attraction to this immortal sword. A sword, scabbard, and body can be called a real sword. It's just that this fairy sword, Xiao Yang didn't have any traces of the scabbard in that secret realm, and he immediately became a little thoughtful. The fluctuations on the immortal sword became more and more intense, and then the next moment, Xiao Yang no longer hesitated, holding the immortal sword with one hand. Otherwise Xiao Yang was also worried that the immortal sword would break through and fly into the mysterious meteorite's radius of 10 within meters. Even his master, the Golden Dragon King, would have a hard time noticing what was weird here, but the only thing that was certain was that the place where this mysterious meteorite existed would definitely not be simple, so he didn't dare to make the slightest move. This fluctuation. This is not the first time Xiao Yang has held this fairy sword. He remembers that the first time he conquered this fairy sword, it was in the mysterious secret realm of the Yin Corpse Forest, and Xiao Yang didn't find it at that time either. What is the strange fluctuation of this fairy sword? When I held this fairy sword for the first time, I just felt that the fairy sword was incomplete, so Xiao Yang also put it away. The attention is naturally much less. But now there are some strange fluctuations in this fairy sword. Xiao Yang had just held the immortal sword, and the next moment, his voice was also abruptly turned red by the immortal sword. The terrifying temperature also emerged from the fairy sword in an instant. Then slowly talking about the hilt, it rushed into Xiao Yang's body frantically. It seems that the immortal sword didn't turn on its wisdom after it was first obtained by you in that secret realm. When you lent the 9-soul monument to fight with the twin ghost emperors, the spiritual wisdom of this fairy sword should have been opened by him. The Golden Dragon King also seemed to see Xiao Yang's doubts, and then said, Xianjian. Sure enough, he already possesses spiritual wisdom. Xiao Yang was also overjoyed when he heard this. Boom boom boom. An extremely hot temperature emerged from the sword at first, and the next moment it instantly filled Xiao Yang's body. Although this terrifying temperature was extremely hot, it was naturally not a problem for someone like Xiao Yang who had already swallowed and merged 23 kinds of flames. However, after that, for some unknown reason, after Xiao Yang had endured the temperature of the immortal sword also became silent. A few breaths passed, and an extremely large suction force emerged from the immortal sword, and the target of the suction was the Do Qi in Xiao Yang's body. Damn it! Xiao Yang also discovered the purpose of this immortal sword at the first time, and then suddenly broke free. However, what Xiao Yang didn't expect was that since he held the fairy sword, the two seemed to be bound together forcibly. No matter how Xiao Yang struggled, this immortal sword was firmly attached to his hand like a mountain. Don't panic, let it suck. Just when Xiao Yang was in a hurry and was about to use the huge soul power in his body to cut off the connection between himself and this fairy sword, his master Jin Longwang seemed to have found something and said with a smile, "Yes, just let it and see how much it can absorb." The next moment, the ancient ruler of eternal fire also slowly lit up, and Longyi also appeared. What's going on? Xiao Yang also stopped the movements in his hands under the words of the two, and let the sword absorb the fighting spirit in his body. However, Xiao Yang could feel that the Do Qi in his body was slowly flowing into this immortal sword. This immortal sword seemed to be a bottomless pit, absorbing the power from the fusion of 23 different fires in Xiao Yang's body without any worries. This should be the core area. In order to prevent any changes, you take out that conch. The Golden Dragon King also said. Yes. Xiao Yang heard the words and slowly took out the conch named Hai's voice. Although Xiao Yang only knew that the conch was also an immortal weapon, but thinking about it, he also needed the special means of his Qiaomuyu clan to use it, so he didn't put his mind on it. The immortal sword in Xiao Yang's hand absorbed nearly 50% of Xiao Yang's vindictive energy, and it stopped absorbing it. Then, as if he was full, he was still unfinished, and 23 different rays of light appeared throughout his body. Since you're full, let's work. A voice full of jokes also slowly appeared in this space. Work. Xiao Yang was also at a loss. Obviously, the source of the voice was the Golden Dragon King standing in front of him. The voice of the Golden Dragon King had just fallen, and the fairy sword in Xiao Yang's hand seemed to have the intelligence to understand human voices. Do you still want to run when you're full? Although Xiao Yang didn't know why his master, the Golden Dragon King, did this for the time being, he definitely had his reasons for doing this, and he immediately stopped him. This Emperor Yenjie was left by Emperor Tuogu. Xiao Yang accepted the inheritance of ancient Emperor Tuoluo, thus breaking through Emperor Do. This ancient Emperor Tuosha also said that he was Xiao Yang's teacher. This Golden Dragon King is the brother of Emperor Tuosha Jiyu, and in terms of seniority, he is naturally his own master. So Xiao Yang also has absolute control over this Emperor Yang ring. However, Xiao Yang also knows that this Emperor Flame ring is definitely not simple, because Xiao Yang's current soul power at the peak of the Emperor realm's mortal level and the midterm strength of the 4-star Do Emperor, I am afraid that this Emperor Flame ring is only a corner of his knowledge. According to Xiao Yang's guess, this Emperor Yang ring will gradually surface as his strength increases, and many mysteries will gradually surface. After all, most of the rings can only store some medicinal herbs and daily necessities. After all, those things are dead. As for weapons, there are very few rings that can hold them, not to mention that it is a weapon of the fairy level like Xiao Yang, so Xiao Yang also concluded that this Emperor Yang ring is not simple, but it is not a venue for discussing the Emperor Yang ring. Cut off the immortal sword's idea of escaping into the Emperor's flame ring. Xianjian also seemed to sense Xiao Yang's movements, and immediately flew to the ground, like a deflated balloon. You still have this immortal sword. Xiao Yang was also quite helpless about this. The immortal sword in front of him was like a little baby, quite willful. Haha, it seems that you are very interested in the stone inside. If you help us get through here, then the stone will be given to you. The Golden Dragon King also said slowly. Really? A coquettish anger slowly emanated from the immortal sword. This video will end here.